There is one common mistake many people over 60 make without even realizing it. And the strange part is that this mistake does not look dangerous at first. They keep eating the same breakfast, the same lunch, the same dinner they have been eating for years. Everything seems normal, but little by little, the body begins to change. Strength does not feel the same. Energy drops faster during the day. Recovery takes longer. Walking feels heavier. And simple things like standing up, carrying groceries, or climbing stairs may begin requiring more effort than before. Many people assume this happens only because of age. But there is one detail most people overlook. After 60, the body may begin using protein differently. And that can change far more than most people imagine. Because protein is not only about building big muscles or going to the gym. Protein is connected to strength, recovery, mobility, satiety, muscle maintenance, and the body's ability to keep functioning well over time. The biggest mistake many adults over 60 make is not simply eating less food. It is believing that the same amount of protein that seemed enough years ago is still enough now. And in many cases, the body may not respond that way anymore. Today, we're going to talk about this silent mistake, why it happens, how it may affect energy, strength, and mobility, and which simple details may help many people pay closer attention to the quality of their nutrition after 60. But before we continue, please subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and share this video. By doing that, you help YouTube recommend this content to other people interested in healthy aging, strength, mobility, and quality of life after 60. Now let's begin with the first important point. The mistake is not only eating too little protein. It is not understanding how the body changes after 60. And that detail changes the entire conversation. The biggest protein mistake after 60 is not only eating too little. The more silent mistake is believing that the body still uses protein the same way it did years ago. At 30, 40, or even 50, many people could maintain energy and strength with the same eating routine they always had. A simple breakfast, a regular lunch, a dinner that looked almost the same every day. But after 60, the body may begin responding differently. The same amount of food may not create the same feeling of strength. The same routine may not support the same energy. And the same diet that once seemed enough may start leaving small gaps. The problem is that these gaps rarely appear in an obvious way. They appear when the body gets tired more easily, when recovery feels slower after a walk, when maintaining muscle becomes harder, when standing up, climbing stairs, or carrying something simple starts requiring more effort. And many people never connect this to protein. They think it is just age. They think it is only low motivation. They think losing strength over time is simply normal. But protein plays a major role in maintaining muscle. And after 60, paying attention to it can matter much more than many people realize. This does not mean eating in an extreme way. It does not mean following a radical diet. And it does not mean that everyone needs to do the same thing. It simply means understanding that, at this stage of life, nutrition deserves more awareness. Because the body changes. Daily routines change. Digestion may change. Appetite may change. And needs may change too. And when protein stays too low for too long, the body may begin showing it in very subtle ways. Less strength, less stability, less energy, slower recovery. And that brings us to the next important point. To understand this mistake, we first need to understand why the body after 60 may use protein differently. After 60, It is not only the amount of protein that matters. The way the body uses that protein can also begin to change. As the years pass, the body may become less efficient at turning the protein from food into muscle maintenance. This means that a meal that once felt enough may not support the body in the same way later in life. That is why some people keep eating normally, but still notice less strength, less firmness, and slower recovery. The plate did not change very much, but the body did. And this is one of the most important points to understand, because many people look only at the amount of food they eat. But after 60, it may also be important to look at the quality of the protein, how often it appears in meals, and how it is distributed throughout the day. For example, a breakfast with almost no protein may leave the body for many hours without receiving an important nutrient for muscle maintenance. And when this happens every day, month after month, small effects may begin to appear. More fatigue, more difficulty preserving strength, more hunger at the wrong times, less firmness during simple daily tasks. This does not mean that every person over 60 needs to eat the same way. Every body has different needs. But it does mean that protein deserves more attention at this stage of life. Because protein is directly involved in maintaining the muscles that help you stand up, walk, climb stairs, carry objects, and stay independent. And this connects directly to the next part. Because when protein stays too low, or poorly distributed for too long, the impact may appear exactly where people feel it most in daily life. In strength, in energy, and in mobility. When protein stays too low for too long, the impact does not always appear first in weight or appearance. Many times, it appears in the way a person feels and moves. The body begins feeling more tired. The legs may feel less steady. Standing up from a chair can require more effort. Climbing stairs may feel heavier. And small activities that once felt simple begin using more energy than before. This is one of the reasons protein after 60 is so closely connected to mobility. Because muscles are not only for lifting weights or exercising. They help the body stay upright. They support safer walking. They help the body react better when balance changes. They help carry objects, and they help preserve independence in daily life. When muscle mass begins to decline, a person may start feeling less confident while moving. And when confidence decreases, movement often decreases too. A person walks less, avoids stairs, goes out less often, spends more time sitting. And this can create a quiet cycle. Too little protein and too little muscle stimulation may contribute to less strength. Less strength may lead to less movement. And less movement may accelerate the loss of physical ability even more. That is why this topic deserves attention, but not fear. Because paying attention to protein is not about chasing a perfect body. It is about preserving function, preserving independence, preserving energy, and helping the body continue responding well to the demands of daily life. In the next part, we will make this more practical. Because one of the biggest questions is simple. Which protein sources make the most sense after 60? When we talk about protein after 60, many people immediately think about meat, chicken, or eggs. But the most important thing is not finding one perfect protein source. It is understanding that different protein sources can support the body in different ways. Eggs, for example, are often practical, accessible, and easy to include in daily meals. Fish, such as sardines, salmon, tuna, and other options, can also be helpful because they provide quality protein along with healthy fats. Chicken, lean meats, and some dairy options, such as Greek yogurt or cottage cheese, may also be part of a higher protein eating routine. And for people who prefer plant-based options, beans, lentils, chickpeas, peas, and other legumes can also be useful, especially when combined with other foods throughout the day. The main point here is not to make protein complicated. In many cases, small choices can already improve the quality of a meal. Adding eggs to breakfast, including a good protein source at lunch. Avoiding a dinner that is only tea, bread, or something too light without enough protein. Paying attention to whether each meal includes something that truly supports strength and muscle maintenance. And there's another important point. Some people over 60 have less appetite. Others find it difficult to eat large portions. And some simply cannot reach a good protein intake through regular meals alone. In these cases, some people look into supportive options, such as protein powders or nutritional formulas designed to complement the diet. This does not mean everyone needs supplements. But for some people, it may be an option to discuss with a qualified professional, especially when it is difficult to meet nutritional needs through regular food. The most important thing to remember is that protein does not need to be extreme. It needs to be present, well chosen, and distributed intelligently throughout the day. Because one of the biggest mistakes is not only the type of protein, it is also when protein appears on the plate. And that is exactly what we will look at next. One of the most common mistakes after 60 is not only about how much protein a person eats. It is also about how that protein is spread throughout the day. Many people go through the entire morning with almost no protein. They may have only coffee, toast, bread, fruit, or something very light. Then they eat a little more at lunch. And only at dinner do they finally place a larger amount of protein on the plate. The problem is that the body may not use protein in the best way when most of it is concentrated in just one meal. After 60, this distribution can matter even more, because the body needs more consistent signals to help preserve muscle mass and strength over time. This does not mean eating protein all day long, and it does not mean making every meal complicated. It simply means looking at breakfast, lunch, and dinner with more attention. Is there a protein source in each meal? Is breakfast strong enough to support the body? Does lunch include quality protein? Is dinner too light for someone who is trying to maintain strength and energy? Small adjustments can be very simple. An egg at breakfast, Greek yogurt, a portion of chicken, fish, lean meat, beans, lentils, or chickpeas at lunch. A dinner that is not only tea, bread, or crackers. The goal is not perfection. It is consistency. Because after 60, the body tends to respond better when it receives helpful signals regularly. And this same idea also applies to details most people never notice. Protein quality, certain amino acids, and even hydration. That is what we're going to talk about next. There is one detail about protein that many people only discover when they start paying closer attention to nutrition. Not all protein acts in the body in exactly the same way. Some protein sources contain a more favorable combination of amino acids for muscle maintenance. And one of those amino acids often receives special attention when the topic is healthy aging. It is called leucine. Leucine is involved in the processes that help the body maintain and repair muscle tissue. That is why it often appears in conversations about protein, strength, and muscle preservation after 60. This does not mean a person needs to memorize difficult names or turn nutrition into something complicated. But it does help explain why protein quality matters too. Foods like eggs, fish, lean meats, dairy products, and some supportive protein options may provide higher quality protein. And for those who follow a more plant-based diet, legumes, and well-planned food combinations can also be part of a balanced approach. Another detail many people forget is hydration. Because the body does not use nutrients in isolation, digestion, absorption, and metabolism depend on the body functioning well as a whole. And after 60, many people feel less thirsty throughout the day. This can lead them to drink less water without noticing. And when hydration stays low, the body may feel more tired, less energized, and less efficient in several functions. So when we talk about protein, it is also worth looking at the full picture. Quality protein, better distribution throughout the day, adequate hydration, consistent eating habits, and when needed, professional guidance to adapt everything to each person's reality. In the end, the secret is not one perfect meal. It is the small details repeated every day. And before we finish, there is one important idea to remember. Protein after 60 should not be treated like a trend. It should be understood as part of a larger strategy for healthy aging. Protein after 60 should not be seen only as something for people who exercise or want to build muscle. It is part of something much bigger: strength, energy, mobility, recovery, satiety, and independence in everyday life. The biggest mistake many adults make is continuing to eat the way they ate years ago, without realizing that the body has changed. And when the body changes, the way we care for it may need to change too. This does not mean exaggerating. It does not mean following trends. And it does not mean turning every meal into a difficult rule. It simply means observing the plate, the routine, and the body's signals with more attention. Is there enough protein in your meals? Is it well distributed throughout the day? Is your nutrition helping your body maintain strength, or is it only filling the stomach? Simple questions like these can open an important conversation about healthy aging. It is also important to remember that every person has a different reality, different health history, different routine, different needs. That is why this video is for educational and informational purposes only, and does not replace medical, nutritional, or individualized professional guidance. If you have questions about nutrition, supplements, loss of strength, weight loss, kidney problems, chronic conditions, or any important change in your health, speaking with a qualified professional is always the best decision. Some people also look for supportive resources related to protein, muscle support, energy, and healthy aging as part of a more complete wellness routine. I left a few options in the description and pinned comment for those who would like to learn more. And if this content was helpful to you, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who also wants to age with more strength, awareness, and quality of life. Because after 60, small changes on the plate can mean much more than nutrition. They can mean more independence, more energy, and more confidence to live the years ahead with greater strength.